raising your GDP. So that gets back to what our founder and CEO was talking about. And it's about the economy, right? And so that is just the most exciting thing that I get to go do every single day. I get to go talk to countries about, why are you doing sovereign AI? And we get to talk through all the things, all 3 steps, about how do we glue those imperatives, those policies, workforce development, those startups, the incubators, and then finally the economy. In the interest of time, I'll stop there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Callista. I love that framing of the 3, from the local to the economy, and I think that's a really good segue to you, Ginny. Ginny Badenis is, of course, the head of Tech for Society at Microsoft, but I'm not sure if that's the current title. Okay, it is. Okay, wonderful. So, Microsoft, of course, has made a very significant investment, so thank you for teeing this up, Callista, in Indonesia, and you'll talk a little bit more about sort of what that means and what interest for Microsoft. But before you do, in case anyone's not seen the front page of the Financial Times today, there was another story that you might guess was on the front page, but just next to that one was actually the head of Microsoft. Yes, this is it. Yeah, not that. This one, AI, okay? And here we go. And let me just read the headline. AI needs adoption beyond rich worlds to pierce bubble fears. And what Microsoft is talking about is exactly to what you were saying, Callista, really indicating, and he's calling it the distillation, the affordability of access to compute, but what are you going to do with that? What is the productive use of that? And how do you bring that to the real world, to the economy, to people? And it's a fantastic approach. So with that in mind, and Microsoft's recent investment, please, Ginny, tell us.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me and including me in this important conversation. I don't think you could have set it up better I repeat and, foot stomp, I suppose you say, everything she just said. When we live in a world where still 700 plus million people don't have access to electricity, you have to think about what that means when it comes to compounding effect for AI. And so one of the things I like to sort of set as a baseline when talking about AI, because sometimes people will compare AI to social media, or they'll compare AI to devices. And I think what they're fundamentally missing is that AI is more akin to electricity. It is more akin to the internet. It is a general purpose technology. It will come into our lives and consume is not the word I mean. It will come into our lives and be part of everything that we do. And so it is critical that we not leave more people behind around the world. We first, and we continue to invest in that gap on electricity, because if they don't have access to electricity, then they don't likely have access to the internet. If they don't have access to the internet, they probably aren't going to have access to AI. And so this is the foundation principle that we have been working from as we look across the world and think, where do we need to make investments and show up so that we are not inadvertently, with the best of intentions, creating a further gap, and so that people around the world are able to get in on AI. And another thing, we were chatting about this a little bit briefly, it is the right thing to do, it is a good thing to do, it is also in our best interest as a company to do this, right? When people have access to these technologies, they become customers, and the diffusion of our products spread further. And to your point about being a global company, it's hard to be a global company when half the world doesn't have access to your technology. And so this is one of the reasons why there's a business case to be had for this. It is also the right thing to do. So one of the reasons we made a large investment in Indonesia recently was in order to make sure that Indonesia is able to build their own infrastructure. And that needs to come with sustainability as well. So the commitments that we've made in the US are the same that we make all around the world, meaning when these data centers are built, they're built with the principles that we have of moving towards our emissions numbers that we've committed to towards 2030. Those sustain us everywhere. That's not just a US commitment. And so the sustainability of building matters too, but it's also about the people. So a lot of people think that our investment is all about brick and mortar, building out data centers, putting in all the computers inside of them, and that is true. But it's also about investing in the people of the country through skilling. I think together we've already skilled over 1 million people towards AI skilling, so that when this technology really does come to fruition, the people of the country, to the point of building their economy, will be ready. They'll be able to meet the moment and actually have the skills they need in order to live in an AI environment. And that will help the economy of Indonesia, and it'll help the rest of the world, and eventually it'll help companies as well. So it's a win-win, but it's something that we're seriously invested in and will continue to do so.
Thank you so much, Ginny. Thank you. And you would think that we prepped a lot before, actually, but we didn't. So that actually is a perfect segue to what I'm about to ask Craig, who's the founder and CEO and chairman of Pegasus Capital Advisors, which is also the fund manager for two Green Climate Fund-backed investment vehicles, the Subnational Climate Fund Infrastructure Fund and the Global Fund for Coral Reefs Oceans Fund. So Craig, welcome. And so it's a signal from companies like Microsoft, from NVIDIA, the focus on not just the hard infrastructure, but also the social infrastructure, which speaks to some of the risks that an investor would look to when making decisions of investment. Where does blended finance play a role here? What are some of those real immediate opportunities? What are some of the higher risks, though, that you're seeing in the current trends of the build-out of AI infrastructure, both in terms of the data centers, but of course, as we're here to speak, the corresponding other resource needs that accompany that build-out? Craig.
Thank you all. The biggest risk is what you started with about how much money we need. And that's where blended finance, I think, and commitments from folks like NVIDIA and Microsoft to work with projects to help provide support with commitments can matter. But I think, Sherry, with the G20 Blended Finance Alliance, to reach the numbers we're talking about and build out sustainably, to me, countries will vary. Indonesia is a great country to invest in, but blended finance, I think, is going to play a critical role, and the alliance, which is bringing in other countries, I think will be important, especially if we focus on doing it sustainably. Green energy is not cheap. And I think we're working on a model in Indonesia and elsewhere with smaller scale data centers to focus on bringing compute to people. It makes sustainability easier. You can put renewables, batteries, in working with Anki in Indonesia on that as well. So I think focusing on not necessarily a risk is a large scale data center you got to fill. We're focused on guaranteeing space and dealing with some obsolescence risk with smaller scale where we know we can power renewables. A key part, which both Callista and Ginny talked about, is also AI has to be good for the country. And it can be such a powerful uplift in terms of education, in terms of healthcare, and the magic word, the economy. So we need to make sure people are trained to compute, young people from the start, and provide that as part of what we're doing. We have to deal with language learning issues and local content. I was at a session with someone from India before who said, quoted Gandhi. I'm going to misquote him, so some of my Indian friends can help me. Biju, what was the quote from Gandhi? Okay, anyway, the context was with with culture. In India, I'll paraphrase. In India, we have lots of winds from different cultures coming in and we welcome them all. But we don't want our own culture to be annihilated. And I think with AI, it's so critical that we preserve local cultures and we, at the same time, embrace learning from other cultures, but indigenous Indonesian cultures, Chinese cultures, cultures from Mozambique, that we preserve them and enrich them. And I think AI can do that. The last comment I'd make quickly, so I think that's a risk with AI. We have to be very careful to make sure local content is enriched. And again, working with some folks here, that's definitely part of the agenda. We're going to need innovation for energy. And whether it's small-scale nuclear, whether it's we're working with some companies in Japan on floating data centers, unique things using deep sea energy with wave power and the like, and underwater, we're going to need it all. And so I think to meet the goals, the other thing that we're very focused on is innovation.
Yep.
Because we don't have enough. That's clear.
Yep. Thank you, Craig. And again, thank you very much. That's a great segue to Stella Lee, the Executive Vice President of BYD. Now, I said earlier, put Callista a bit on the spot and saying NVIDIA is, kind of the center of the universe. Now, I'm gonna do a little bit of the same here, Stella, because if we have NVIDIA's, chips, at the brains, right, then storage maybe is the heart, right, of the AI systems that we need, right? And as Craig just said, we need innovations, right? And the way to boost. all countries, Indonesia is no different, have capacity of their grids. Even the most advanced economies have grid capacity. So even if we add all this, you cannot really distribute that, right? It's still a strain. So we need battery storage. We need these types of innovations. Please tell us what BYD is doing here and how we're going to address this AI growth boom we're seeing.
Yeah, so everybody understand the car. Now we're saying the first half is electrification. The second half is intelligent, autonomous driving. So NVIDIA is our strategy partner. A lot of our car will use NVIDIA chipset. Even this morning, Jason Huang is at the Davos. Then when I chat with him, it's like for BYD, we'll do two angles. One is using their chipset for power our data center. Second, using their chipset for BYD intelligent cars. So you'll find the global supply chain flow around. So Greg, you're talking about the a data center. So data center, if you listen to Jason Huang's speech at the CES, he said it's a construction work. It's electricity supplier guarantee. Then this come back to the two strengths, one is battery storage. So I know Indonesia has a very rich resource for the hydroelectricity, but also to guarantee the best quality, smooth supply, you need a battery storage. So battery storage, BYD is the leading company because our DNA heart is a battery. So we are leading company. We just closing the contract in Saudi. They are doing the data center called Mazda, the data center project. Then it's the first project in the world is battery used 24 hours to support the data center. So this is the biggest project now so far in the world, but not the last one. It's just the journey just start. So you start to bundle together. Also, I want to emphasize, Indonesia is also big mining industry. I'm looking on this one. So for any battery and also the charger, everything, you need copper, you need nickel, you need cobalt. You need all the metal you produce in Indonesia. So naturally, to push all the electrification, Indonesia in the supply chain, basic supply chain, you're going to play a very important role.
Thank you very much, Stella. Great. I know you have a lot more to say, so I appreciate the brevity on this. And you're going to have a lot of questions if we have time for all of you as well. But Enki, I want to pivot to you. Enki is the head of GT Tires. So we have a very practical example here. Now, there was a panel just before this where I think it was rightly observed that, and for the most part, technology outpaces policy, right? So this is also going to, a risk of how we deploy and seize the advantages and all of this power that is represented here on this panel. But from a very practical perspective, from the business industry perspective, how is this rolling out? What are some of are we really seeing efficiencies now from AI? What are some of the barriers? How do we actually get this to the real economy on the ground? How do we go, as Lisa was pointing, from up here down here? Please.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm the last speaker because we got the brains, we got the muscle, we got the heart, and we got the energy. We're the pinky toe. So we are the extremities, basically. So GT started as a manufacturing company, and I'll just explain that how we use AI and then how we extend beyond manufacturing into the community. So as I look across here, we're working with everyone here in the panel. So we work with Azure Cloud, we work with NVIDIA on computing, we work with now with the funds, how setting up edge servers and server to serve the community, and of course with BYD. So in our manufacturing, we are now permeating AI throughout. So we are like a trial and error kind of situation. We're not at the cutting edge of AI, but we're the users of AI. So the car that we supported, working together, that beat the world record 3-4 months ago, the fastest car in the world, fastest production car, the tire was designed using AI. Yeah, the whole process was on simulation, the combination of the automatic, the car technology and the tire technology and the road data is all data based on AI to design the tire. So that's in design. We use AI in manufacturing in our plants. We use AI now in commerce. And now, we talked about the community. How do we get AI accessible to the public? we have built a community of SMEs, small, medium-sized enterprise that work with us around the world. We support them with products, we support them with commerce, and we support them the whole back end of tech. So the cloud, the apps, the commerce, the payment system, and now with the analytics, and also with the supply chain. So we help the SMEs become more profitable. This is from our suppliers, from rubber farmers in Indonesia, Kalimantan. How do we help them with their farming and the supply chain, down to the smallholders that sell the tires across the world. So I think, we are using AI on the feet on the ground across the world, and working with everyone here as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, we have about 12 minutes left, and I also want to invite my colleague from OECD to give some closing remarks, but I do want to give the opportunity to a couple of you to intervene, and we do have someone very special in the audience, Father Marcin, who we had this incredible discussion actually yesterday, last evening, about what I think you hinted at it, Craig, earlier, sort of the cultural aspects of AI, which also, has been said, and I quoted Jensen earlier. There are ethical considerations. This is a profound transformation affecting every single component of society. Please, Father, how do you respond to the panel's remarks so far, and what are we missing here, and what do we need to keep an eye out for?
Thank you so much. First of all, yes, I'm the founder of the Algorithmic platform in the Vatican. So we are putting together different institutions and techno company. And of course, from the church side, that we believe that today we are the first generation in the history that created the machine able not only to do the task for us, but also to think, to predict, to take decisions. So, and of course, and this is the first issue that we are affirming, that please don't consider the AI as a human being. So it's not the social moral subject, but it's an instrument. So, and in this technocratic time, and where we're living the dehumanization process, so we're humanizing sometimes of the technology, and even just I'm speaking from the perspective of a priest, of a religion leader. So just even divinize, making divinization of the AI somehow. But the algorithmic is the started by Pope Francis during the meeting in G7 and then in the United Nations. So Pope Francis was the first one that was calling to all the governments and the people from the countries to really reconsider the multilateralism, to reconsider the sovereignty, to reconsider that in this technocratic era, we have to really build the algorithmic. So that means that's ethical rules and ethical fundament of the development of the technology that have to serve to the humanity. So I'm very happy that all of you just going also to consider finally also that not only the consumer, not only look the human being as a consumer data or profit, but first of all, so we have to remember about this human-centric approach, anthropocentric approach for the development. Only in this way we can develop the technology that can really serve the humanity. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Father. I think Father must have read UNDP's Human Development Report. So thank you for that plug as well. Now, this is human-centered AI, and it's absolutely putting the agency. Do not forget that we have agents, but it's human agency that needs to continue to be a focus for all of us. So we're in maybe less than 1 minute, please. I really want to ask you, and I'm sorry for the pressure. In one sentence, what is the single most important thing that government, investor, and/or industry can do right now for this to ensure that AI exactly is human-centric, that it delivers equitable prosperity, in fact, accelerates, and we use it as a lever for some of these SDG gaps that I mentioned at the start of this, please?
So I would say the first of the three things that I mentioned, the policy, the imperative, all of that, it's fairly baked in already. The other two, those can I have two?
You can have two,
okay.
Yes.
Think about your economy, what drives your economy, and then go educate to apply AI to it. Okay, so educate and build your local workforce. Encourage and engage them to go drive towards solutions that will drive your economy. And that, for Indonesia, you've got a lot of things up there on the wall. But, your global imperatives, right? You've got healthcare, education, logistics, things like that you've already declared. You know what your priorities are, but you also know what your industries are. And so think, through those. And when I talk to anyone, I'm like, don't go into a new industry. Look at what you are in already and be number one at it always, be as number one as possible.
Thank you. Be number one.
I'd say we need to shift the frame of how people think about responsible AI away from it being a hindrance or a way of slowing, and instead an accelerant to how we grow a better product. I think right now when people talk about responsible AI, there is a sense that is going to pull us back. We're not going to be able to go as far. We're not going to be able to go as fast. And I've actually seen the opposite happen. When done well, it is actually something that builds a better product that can go faster and go further. And in the end, you're going to end up with both a more humane product, but also something that is superior.
Thank you.
So I'll also do 3 very quick things as part of it. We need to get the energy and investment. We need the energy, or it's not going to happen, the positive. Secondly, I think we need to make sure the education's there. As Calista said, you need a workforce that will understand and use it and be knowledgeable. But I think AI has the potential to look at these industries and bring primary sources of materials and manufacturing and processing to the country and build out industries, whether it's seaweed, whether it's battery production, whether it's other things. I think AI offers countries like Indonesia, so rich in resources, the potential to build out fishing industry and dramatically make them more resilient and larger, well used.
Thank you.
So I think we need a sustainable policy to support that. Second, AI is need a global cooperation. We do need to put a regulation, government's plan for every country for data security. But at the same time, we need to cooperate for the global. You cannot build each country, each region build their own data, their own AI system. So don't use AI as a geopolitical argument.
In our experience, the biggest obstacle for AI is basically, I think, in the organization, how do we transform the mindset? Because I think individually, everybody wants to do it. I think a lot of companies, trying to do it. But how do you transform the whole organization, together? This is the difficult part. Because there are different understanding, different embracing, different mindset within the teams. It's very difficult to do that. It's basically throwing out a lot of the stuff that we're used to, and then rejigging the whole system. Your organization structure, your reporting structure, even your KPIs and your operation, and this is the most difficult part.
Thank you so much. Andreas, I want to invite our fellow colleague at OECD to give us a few closing remarks just in 1 minute. But before you do that, just as a final sort of takeaway, and I'm not sure if I'm putting Sherry on the spot here, but I think that we can invite our panel members as a follow-up to really join all the efforts of the G20 Global Blended Finance Alliance. Yes? So we would love to engage you there. And please, Andreas, OECD is also a partner in our G20 Blended Finance Alliance, so thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much, Patricia. So originally I was given 7 minutes and I put all my speech away. I was hoping that somebody would put a video of me sitting in the car on the screen, because Father, we call it Deus Ex Machina in theater. If suddenly you have an appearance, so Pagoreslani did it perfectly, the perfect Deus Ex Machina. Let me just reinforce some of the things which have been said on the panel, which we believe in. First, Indonesia can be a real leader in the development of sustainable AI that works for everybody. 80% of the Indonesians see AI more of an opportunity than a risk. This is already a good mindset. And I very much agree with the colleagues here on the panel. We need to invest in the skills of the people. We need to prepare the people in order to avoid some of the, let's say, possible risks related to development. But we need to see the opportunity, and Indonesia, with all the optimism of its people, is very well placed. Second, infrastructure. investment, the energy setting up, the system. This is something we need to work on. Indonesia's recent auction on the 2.4 gigahertz mobile network is already a good step to develop. But also there is a question of financing. And here our joint blended finance agenda kicks in. We need to leverage public money, or we need to leverage public money and private money with each other in order to get the massive investments done we will need for some of the networks, for the development of some of the technology. And this panel is actually a good example how public and private can work together and can discuss things together. And the last thing, and this brings me to the policy dimension and to the question where we're working in the OECD. We've very much been supporting the G20 Blended Finance Alliance, the Bali Blended Finance Alliance. We have been supporting the former President Widodo when he started the Hita Karana roadmap. It's a very important thing to work together on this issue. But we also need to get, and this brings me to what you said, Father, we need to get the ethics right. We need to get the, let's say, the standards surrounding AIs right. That's why we have a global partnership on artificial intelligence. We will meet in India, 17th and 18th of February. You're all invited. Hope to see you all there. And we are developing, we were the first ones who have been developing G20 standards on artificial intelligence for the human-centered use, but also with a mindset to see this really as an opportunity for growth and development. And maybe I leave it there. Maybe you can bring my video now. I leave it here. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you so much, Andreas. I'm afraid we're just on time. I know our panelists have to run to other things. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for this excellent. Thank you again, Bushari, Government of Indonesia, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Pegasus, Enki, BYD. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of Davos. Good luck. Oh, sorry, can we get do we